In 2015, Hollywood decided to take a massive risk in trying to revive a franchise that ended over 10 years ago. And people thought it was over ever since JP3 had mixed reactions. And they were talking about a fourth Jurassic Park movie since the early 2000s, and many scripts were declined or forgotten about. So when Hollywood eventually decided to make a new Jurassic movie, there were many ways that it could fail. But now it's one of the biggest movies ever made. And it has made over $6 billion globally. And like $500 million in its opening weekend or something like that. So now I know you're wondering, how did this movie save the Jurassic franchise? Well, now I'm going to tell you. So first I'll be talking about how the Jurassic Park trilogy started off really well, but then it started falling off. So I just want to talk about how much JP1 really revolutionized the film industry, and its crazy visual effects, which consisted of practical effects and CGI. Which the craziest practical effect is this T-Rex right here is not CGI, but a full-scale animatronic. So in this part of the T-Rex breakout scene, these screams from the children are actually real screams, because all they see is a massive dinosaur trying to maul them, and their only protection is this small piece of glass. So this movie really had a special sense of wonder to it, like the scene where the main characters see real dinos for the first time, and the audience sorta does as well. So it is really hard to be able to back up a movie this good, because it's hard to create the amount of wonder that we got from the first film, which leads us to JP2, which had massive expectations, which the audience trusted that Spielberg would be able to deliver another masterpiece, which commercially the movie had crazy success, but many people felt this was the first sign that it would be really hard to be able to capture the magic of the first movie. And this had very mixed reception, where there were people who loved the movie, and then there were people who hated it. Well, maybe not hated it, but disliked it. Which this is important because this was the first time the audience was divided in how they felt about the Jurassic Park franchise. Because everybody loved the first movie, and people who liked the second movie liked it because this movie had a much darker and scarier tone than the first movie. It featured some of the scariest and most intense action sequences, like when the trailer was hanging off the cliff. The Jurassic Park universe was expanded from more than just Isla Nublar, which is the island the first movie took place on. The movie had very good visual effects that were groundbreaking in 1997. Many people thought that Spielberg's action sequences were much better than the first movie. So I feel like people who enjoyed the second movie just like seeing people get brutally murdered by dinosaurs, which I stand for it. But the people who didn't like this film said the movie lacked the emotion and wonder that they got from the first film. They also said that the characters weren't as memorable or relatable as the first movie. The story felt more like a bunch of action pieces than a well-written adventure. You do not know how many attempts it just took for me to say that one sentence. My days. They felt the movie was more like, or it felt more like a I felt that the San Diego ending was a bit unnecessary, which some people started comparing it to a massive monster movie rather than a Jurassic Park movie. So I feel like the people who didn't like the movie cared more about the story than the action. So that's why I think the first Jurassic Park movie did really well, because it balanced the two perfectly. And unfortunately in Jurassic Park 3, they divided even further, where people didn't think the franchise was necessarily dying, but more losing its momentum, and people were just losing interest by that point. Anyway, the people who didn't like Jurassic Park 3 said the story felt rushed as the movie was only 92 minutes long, which is much shorter than the other movies. They also felt the characters weren't as memorable, which they also felt that way about Jurassic Park 2. They felt the movie built tension really well, but it ended too quickly. They also felt that the fact that Spielberg wasn't the director, the movie lacked the wonder and atmosphere of the first Jurassic Park movie. But the people who loved this movie said that the movie never gets boring, and they appreciate that it jumped to the action almost immediately. They felt the Spinosaurus was a fantastic dinosaur, and the fight between the T-Rex was one of the franchise's most talked about moments. Which, I'm sorry to say this if you're Team Spinosaurus, but that fight was very inaccurate to real life. If a T-Rex fought a Spinosaurus the way that it went out in the movie, the fight would have ended immediately. Because as soon as that T-Rex came over and grabbed the Spinosaurus's neck, well, his head's coming right off. Because the T-Rex does have the strongest bite force out of all dinosaurs. But that's beside the point. The fans also say that the aviary scene is one of the best scenes in the whole franchise, and it is very visually good. They also say that the visual effects and animatronics were very good, even with today's standards. They also love seeing Alan Grant come back and be a major role in the film. So this film isn't universally loved or hated, it just had a split fan base, where some people loved its fast-paced survival, and the other people just saw it as a disappointing sequel. Which now leads us to the biggest challenge, like trying to recreate the wonder of the first movie. So how do we do this? Well, they decided to make the park fully operational, where we, the audience, can go through the gates for the first time since 1993, and visit attractions, we can stay in hotels, and we can see what Mr. John Hammond had in plan all those years ago. And what about trying to satisfy long-time fans and bring the new audience? Well, how about when these two people go to Jurassic Park, where we can see it is still there. So we can see that they're not trying to forget Jurassic Park, but they are more recreating it as a modern park. Instead of the T-Rex as the main dinosaur running around trying to eat people, they have a new concept which we haven't seen before in any Jurassic Park movies, which is a hybrid dinosaur where they combine two dinosaurs, which the two they decided to combine was a T-Rex and a Velociraptor, two very deadly dinosaurs, which made the Indominus Rex, which this dinosaur made one of my favorite scenes in the franchise, which was this one.
It can camouflage!
So this scene really shows how scary the Indominus Rex is. And personally, I like how it's just a killing machine. It has no real feeling. It just wants to kill anything. So rather than rebooting Jurassic Park, Jurassic World continued the story, but still making it accessible to people who hadn't seen Jurassic Park. But who hasn't seen Jurassic Park, really? And other challenges they faced was trying to modernize Jurassic Park without changing its identity. And they do this by asking, what would Jurassic Park look like in the modern world, being 2015? Because that's when this movie was set. So instead of pretending it's still 1993, they decide to embrace ideas like corporate sponsorship, which is why they invented the Indominus Rex. Because I think the scarier the dinosaur, the more it will sell. And consumer expectations, like when Claire says, no one is impressed by dinosaurs anymore. Like when the park first opens, people would be amazed by seeing a T-Rex, but after a few years, people would want something bigger and better and scarier. They want something they have never seen before, which once again is where the Indominus Rex comes in. Which this also applies in the real world, with us, the audience, because we already seen dinosaurs 22 years before this. And CGI had become a lot more popular since 1993. And it's also like how film companies feel pressure to create the next big movie, because the audience always expects something new and bigger and better. So those were the challenges Jurassic World had to overcome, and well, they actually found the answer to all of them. The film didn't try to remake Jurassic Park, it just expanded on the idea from the original films, and they were able to make John Hammond's original dream a reality. They welcomed a new generation of fans, and changed the franchise from 1993 to 2015, and that's why Jurassic World was a successful revival. But what's funny is that the films that came after Jurassic World went down the exact same path as the Jurassic Park trilogy. But in this case, Jurassic World was way worse than Jurassic Park, because they completely forgot about the park and they blew up the bloody island. Like, are we serious? But that's for another video. So Jurassic World did the impossible. They were able to revive a loved franchise, but in classic fashion, they completely messed it up. All the next films, straight garbage. But like I said, that's a video for another day. Anyways, see ya. Well, this isn't really how I wanted the video to end. Okay, so while I'm editing this video, I've just found out that Sam Neill, who played Alan Grant, has unfortunately passed away. So I hope he rests in peace, and to the family, I'm so sorry. I couldn't imagine what you're going through. Okay, see yous.